Everything changes when we get together.
That's the voice of Courtney McDermott. Hi there, my name is Matthew Blades, and welcome to a special 9-episode series of bite-sized content called a microdose for the things that keep you up at night. Here's the way I look at life. Each one of us is just a sequence of words away from having everything make sense, or at least gaining more clarity. So if you're ready to make a micro investment in you and walk through topics like blowing up what you built, tuning out the noise, becoming that transitional character, improving your health, your relationships, advancing in your career, then you found the right place. Welcome to a very special Learn from People Who Lived It. This is episode 1, Blow Up What You Built. I was sitting down with Courtney McDermott the other day, and she said something to me that really changed the way that I wanted to think about what's getting ready to happen for everybody. She said,
Everything changes when we get together.
Courtney and I have known each other for a couple of years now, but this is the first time we've ever been face to face to sit down and record something together. And so first up, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
This is going to be so fun today because what we have come up with is the idea of a microdosed series on the things that keep people up at night.
Yeah, well, we were really considering what are those micro doses that you can take, right? Investing in yourself in terms of whatever success looks like to you, whatever's most important, most pressing, but really at that deeper level.
There is this thing about like, let's go. Mm-hmm. Let's stop thinking about it and let's just get into it. Let's be about it. Let's start to, because here's what I know for myself. Most bits of frustration in my life stem from inaction. I spend a lot of time in my head thinking about things, but until I act on them, I feel stuck, feel stagnant. I don't know if that's your truth as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If I don't move, I'm screwed.
That's how it works, right? So we're going to jump into these 9 episodes, and we invite everybody to, and here's the thing, this was really important to both of us. This isn't some framework that we've come up with that we think is like the Bible. This isn't the truth. This is our truth. This is things that we've experienced that we feel like might help somebody. As I always say, I really believe this in my whole heart. Everybody is a sequence of words away from life making sense.
I see the impact. I feel the impact of certain words, right, in my body. It's like if you say someone looks attractive, it has one impact in your body. If you say someone looks yummy, it has a different kind of feel, right? There's something about the vibrational quality or some other association. So words are incredibly important, and how we use them really does shape a lot of what's going on.
All right. Well, let's jump in. We feel like for us, episode 1, this first episode, is really around the idea of what I call blowing up what you built. You and I will get to our stories here in just a moment, but I think most people who have come to this podcast know that I spent 28 years in the radio and television, and one night in Sedona, I decided to blow the entire thing up and walk away from that career, walk away from the money, walk away from the notoriety, walk away from all of the things that are attached to that career. And I did so because of a sequence of words, right? I did so because somebody looked at me and they said, you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You just need to step into your life's purpose. And then from that point forth, it was like, well, then what's my purpose? What am I here to do? And there were a lot of ways that I came to realize what I needed to do. You too walked away from a really big career, fancy little title, fancy magazine. Like, you had a good gig. So why did you blow up what you built?
Well, my job, my work had become really unsustainable. I had like I said, I had all the gold stars. I collected all the accolades and the titles and the material and all of it. And I felt an emptiness, and I felt what I called being miserably successful. And I think a lot of people either get there, or in their striving to get there, they're miserable. And we all climb up these caterpillar pillars. This is a reference from a book I read years ago. It's like we're all trying to get somewhere, but you get to the top and there's nothing there. But you're a caterpillar, so just go down and be a butterfly.
Interesting. Yeah. So, okay. The idea around blowing up what I built, I think most of us, we don't change until the pain of our situation becomes more than the pain that we think it's going to be to move out of it. And so this micro dose for anybody who's considering blowing up what they built, I will say to you that, like, if you're at a stage in your life where it just isn't working for you any longer, And you know that, like, you know it's not working for you any longer. Your relationships are suffering, you're suffering. There's a lot of value in getting really curious about walking away and trying something new. What do you think about when I say that?
I think blowing up what you built isn't for everybody. I think it can be an enormously gratifying experience on the other side. But I also think if that scares the crap out of you, which I know it scared the crap out of both of us for sure, you can again kind of micro invest in a change in your life. And that's one of the reasons I know we're doing this series is like, okay, you don't have to jump in to see how deep the water is, right? You can actually start saying, "Oh, what if I took this step?" And that comes back to that action piece that you were talking about a minute ago, because sometimes we get so paralyzed by how sucky everything feels that we don't we feel like we can't move. So if instead of it being like, "Oh, I got to blow everything up," which I think there's definitely merit in that, and I've done it numerous times in my life, but if that's feeling scary, it can just be like, what if I do this one thing? And I've had experiences with that too, where I've just taken these little tiny steps. And then the steps got a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And next thing I know, I was able, or I would say the miracle of compound interest or the magic of compound interest kind of just popped me into a whole different potential. So, yeah.
Blowing up what you built isn't always about your career. For some people, it's a marriage or a long relationship or what else? Well, I mean, what else comes to mind when you think about putting a stop to something that's happening?
I think what we built is such a great way of thinking about it because it's the constructs that we have around ourselves, right? And that society has put around us and that more importantly, we've embraced as the only possibility of truth or the only possibility of potential. And for me personally, every time that I've kind of extricated myself from those confines, it's been really marvelous on their side, but it's super scary. And other examples of that aren't, I mean, there's so many because it's like we just keep wanting to put ourselves into boxes to make this whole thing seem easier. But what it does is it becomes kind of suffocating, and it's sort of one of the ways I like to refer to it is it sort of calcifies you into the character you're playing. So you can
Which is
only be
something,
that.
yeah, which is something
Yeah.
we're going to talk about in our third episode. This idea of stepping into what I call the transitional character. You talk a lot about it in your book, this stepping into this new character energy. One of the things that was said to me when I announced that I was going to blow up what I built was somebody said to me, move your family and your friends through this in the highest way. And so it feels like an important thing to articulate in this episode. It's like if you're going to blow up what you built, you don't just get to do it however you want, any way you want. I mean, unless you just want to be rogue and chaotic and be a tornado, right? But for most of us, there's a loving way, there's a gentler way to blow up what you built. What do you think about when I say that?
Obviously kindness is huge, right? And there's a kind way to say, but there's also the importance of just, in Italian they say spit out the frog. Spit out the frog. Like the frog is in the way,
Get to it.
and just say in a loving way what you have to say so that things can start to settle. Just like you were saying, that's part of, I think that is the blowing up process is like, okay, this is feeling really constricting. Let's talk about it. Just like we were talking about it the other day, I think this is something that a lot of people are really afraid to do. I know I was really afraid for a really long time, and it wasn't until much more recently in my life where I was able to start saying things. And that in and of itself was the detonation. That was you can now step into something new because you've been truthful, wholly truthful, not trying to hold something back, not trying to manipulate, not trying to figure out how do I put this so that the person digests it in the right way, but really like, this is what's happening for me. Like, this is about my experience, and it's not something you did or anything else. Like, this is my experience right now. Can we talk about it? And that has been massively transformational.
Yeah, I think depending on your situation, the rules have to be adjusted a little bit, right? If you're caring for other people and they're depending on you, like there needs to be a different approach than if you're 25 and single and you don't have any responsibilities, and then you can be the elephant tied to the plastic chair, as I like to say, and just get up and go.
When I hear blow up, one of the first things that comes is like a kettle, right? And with a top on it, right? And so it's like, some of that's gotta come out somewhere. And it can come out in healthy ways that you're deciding how to let all of that that's been accumulating inside of you, that's been the story, that's been forming who you think you are, like start to gently let that out so that you can come into a different form and a different expression. You're not any of that anyway. So it's kind of like this game that you get to play with yourself in life rather than forcing yourself into rules that, really are so often self-imposed. So I think it's the permission piece is really huge, and going slow, go slow. Like you don't have to race. It's go slow and enjoy it as much as you can, because it's, it does require that activation effort. So
Here's what I know. When you decide to blow up what you built, there will be a lot of noise around you. And in episode 2, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how to tune out the noise. So when we come back, we're going to talk about how you can tune out the noise. Looking forward to that. Hang tight.